We're alive. Good morning, guys. It is Trish. I am here with a bunch of ladies this morning with Homeschool Moms. I'm going to start with the far left. That is Dorinda Wilson. Dorinda is our newest team member. There she is. Simple Nourishing Home is her blog. I'm gonna let her introduce herself here in a second. Tell us all about her. Get my tongue untied. Here's Heidi. Heidi Saravola. It starts at 8. Hey Heidi. Good
Hello,
morning.
everyone. Good morning.
And then here is Lisa. Hey Lisa Pennington from Pennington Point.
Hello. Good morning.
Good morning. So Dorinda's our newest team member. We're going to let her tell us a little bit about herself, and then we'll jump into the questions. So Dorinda, it's all yours.
Okay, well, I'm Dorinda Wilson, and I've been married almost 25 years to Daryl, and we have 8 kids, ages 23 down to 9. We have our second and third grandchildren on the way by the end of the year, and we've been homeschooling since the beginning, so I don't know what that means in terms of years, but 18 or more. So yeah, and I have the blog Simple Nourishing Home, and it's just a place where I share what God lays on my heart and kind of encourage moms to simplify and just try to keep their priorities in focus, and yeah, that's it.
Well, we're excited to have you. Thank you for joining us. It's fun when we have this many different voices that can give their perspective. And we have 2 now that have graduated. So Dorinda's graduated kids through high school, and so has Lisa.
Yay. Yeah, I got 2 more this weekend. We just graduated them.
Yay.
I know. So now we have, it's really good, I think, because Heidi and I both have kids in elementary. And actually, everybody, all of us. Do you still have kids in elementary, Dorinda?
Yes, I do. Yeah, I'm 3rd grade on up. So.
Okay. Wow. So we all have kids in elementary, but then we also have the luxury of the perspective of hindsight from y'all.
Yes.
So that's wonderful. So we're excited to have you here.
And we're still alive. Me and Dorinda are still alive. Look,
We are.
That's right. Okay, guys, I wanted to start a little bit different today. Instead of starting with a question that that our viewers have thrown out there, I wanted to start with one that it seems to be sort of what we've been trying to go towards, where we're trying to help moms in a bigger, broader picture instead of staying too close into, what curriculum do you use for this and what do you use for that. We're trying to get a little bit broader. And I love this. I think it's a great place to start. And Dorinda and I were talking about it a little bit yesterday. What is the difference between a groove and a rut in homeschooling? Do y'all know what I mean by that?
Yeah.
So a groove, where, well, I'll let y'all decide. Y'all know what it means. So Dorinda, you start. What do you think?
Okay.
What's the difference?
Well,
what looks different?
What looks different is a rut I think it just feels, it doesn't energize you, it drains you. And you start to just be doing it it's kind of becomes rote, kind of like you're just doing this thing and your heart isn't in it. But a groove is so much different because you've got energy and you're moving forward and you just feel like, it's just a more positive feeling, I think.
Mm-hmm. So in somebody's homeschool, something that we have seen, and we were joking about Leanne yesterday, the bright, shiny objects, how it's so easy to get attracted to those bright, shiny objects. So Heidi, explain how you avoid those, because I know you and I both are bright, shiny object people. And how you remember your groove, because that's one of the hardest things for all of us.
I'm not sure that I always do.
Heidi and I.
I'm not sure that I always do avoid them, honestly, but the longer that I do it, the easier it is to avoid them because I start seeing what is working for each child. So it's like, well, I have what's working. So that may look bright and shiny and great, but I know what I have is working. And so I stick with that. And I try really hard to look at the new things come up and to remember that it's not about which curriculum. There are so many great curriculums and so many great roads to take, and just because I'm on a different one than the new bright shiny object doesn't mean that mine isn't right or working for us. And it doesn't mean that the new bright shiny object isn't fantastic, and so I guess for me, I more try and remind myself that if I know that I have something that's working, then it's working, and I need to stop questioning it and stop looking for something else. And the older my kids get, the easier that gets for me. The more I see what works for them and what's working for us, and things
What does
change. You
that
can
look like?
obviously,
What does
what
that
is
look
what?
like in your home? How do you know it's working for you?
Um, I guess I have to use my teenager at this point as the best example. And she struggled in math from the get-go, and not so much because she wasn't good at it, but because she hated it. And so we've been down a long path of trying different things. I want to say it was like third or fourth grade. I threw math out the window for like the second half of the year and was like, we can't do this. This is killing us. And
And her
so I kept
love of learning. Yeah, yeah,
killing
that's a danger.
killing killing her love of learning, killing our relationship. I mean, it was just this constant yelling, screaming, crying, fighting from her, from me, and I have other kids in the house, and it was too much. And so, we finally settled on something that works for us, and we found that she's a video-based learner. She really likes video-based type curriculums and things. So a lot of what she does via video, whether that be
And
math and
so does she like it? I mean, how do you know she likes it? Is it because she doesn't argue with you anymore over it? Is it because she's successful? What makes it feel different now?
I think it's a combination of both. I mean, she's going to be 15 in September, so she kind of has a sense of who she is and what she likes and and what's working for her. So teaching textbooks took the complete struggle out of math for me, and of course, there's always going to be debate about whether it's the strongest math program or not. Really doesn't matter to me. It took the stress and the arguing out of math for us. It took the stress out of it for her. She still doesn't love math, but she feels more successful. She's learning. Is she learning as fast as other kids? Is teaching textbooks a year behind? I don't really care. She's learning. She's feeling successful. And she's planning on going to college. Am I concerned? No, because I feel like when we get to that point, we're looking at studying for our PSATs this year, and the year after will be SATs. Then we'll do some specific test study and see where she's at, and do some more review if we need to. But for her, I took that teaching textbooks and took it into other things. I found a science program that she loves that is video based. It's a lot of the labs are done on video. Like, they literally have taken video and done the whole lab in video, and then she works through them. Lectures are in video, and it supplements with reading. And she just really, for whatever reason, has taken to that style of learning, and so we stick with that.
Well, Heidi,
Yeah.
don't you think it's really all about not burning them out, just keeping that love of learning, that fire just going? And one of the ways you do that is just like you just did, just figure out how she learns and what works for her, and don't be so concerned about scope and sequence, but rather about their love of learning.
Yeah.
That's right.
And it's different with my little one. My littlest one is a cut and paste lap book. Like, she likes to have those. My other two hated that. It's just tedious, busy work to them. They don't want to cut. They don't want to paste. They don't want to fill in the little lines and glue the lap book, and they don't want to do any of that. But my little one, who is third grade, like you said, Dorinda, your little one is third grade. My little one is going into third grade this year, and that's what she loves. She takes those lap books and stuff, and she has them in her room, and she rereads them, and it's a great learning process for her. But it was one of those things that did not work with my other two. So, what I do for one is completely different than what I'm doing for another. And I think that when I first started, I just thought, I'm going to buy this curriculum, I'm going to buy this thing, and I'm going to be able to use it for every kid. And it just didn't work that way, and some stuff has been, has taken, has traveled on, but, they're very different. And so for me, I think it's really easy to go from a groove to a rut. I think there's a very fine line, and kids change, family situations change. And so what was a groove can turn into a rut. And I think Dorinda's point was really great about that. It's about a feeling. It's about that. Am I feeling like this is total drudgery and I am drowning? Or are we feeling like, yes, this is great for the most part. This is working for us. Yes, we feel great.
Right. And how the kids are feeling about it. Are they dragging their feet on it? And are they just lack of enthusiasm, having a lack of enthusiasm and all of that? That can be a cue that You know, sometimes you just go through seasons like that where they're just not very excited about it. But, you know, sometimes it really is time for a change, and you just kind of have to listen to your instincts.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Lisa? You've got the luxury of graduating, what, 4 now?
5.
5. I keep forgetting that. 5. Yeah, that's right, because you had 2 that just graduated. That's right. I'm thinking it was just 1. You had 2 that just graduated.
Woohoo!
I know, it's exciting.
So how do you see the difference between a groove and a rut? Or how do you identify it?
Well, I think a lot of it is my personality. I don't really ever feel like I'm in a rut. I feel like I'm spontaneous and I'm not super attached. Even though I'm really organized, I'm not really attached to that. Like if one day that's not working, we just go sit out. Y'all know I'm big on sitting outside, like Dorinda, I'm all jealous. Or, you know, throw in some fun stuff, build it into something that will capture their attention. So I'm really playful, and we just don't really get in a rut. If it seems like it's not working, then I'll say, okay, do this every day like you're supposed to, and then on Friday we'll just take the whole day off and do some fun things. So I always try to keep it moving and flowing and interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's not always going to be fun, but if you can lighten the load a little sometimes, or give them a break, or let them know you understand. For me, I have to remember that if they went to school every day, nobody would care if they were in a rut. It's just what they have to do to get through their school all the time.
Very good point.
You just have to do that work.
That's an excellent point.
To make it fun.
Yeah, you know, we get a lot of questions about, you know, how do we make this fun? I tell our kids, I'm sorry, not everything is fun. You're going to go out in the real world and you're going to get a job, and there are going to be things you don't like about that job. And my husband who works outside the home, you know, he works for the state here, and he works outside the home, and he will, especially to our teenager, you know, have conversations with her. You know, I'm sorry, not everything is fun. And he has real life examples, and he'll say, you know what, I was at work today and, you know, and I think that's a really great perspective to give your kids, because even if you love your job, or you know, you like the field that you're in, there's always going to be things that you don't like. There's always going to be times where it's really stressful, and you know, it's not what you want it to be. And so I think that's a really important point to make to kids, is like, I'm sorry, everything's not fun. Sometimes you're just going to have to do it, and that's the way it is. Sorry.
Yep.
Yeah. So what I try to do. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Lisa.
Well, okay, real quick. What I try to do, instead of taking away the rut, is try to be understanding about it. And they are still kids, so try to give them a little break, or give everybody a stretch, or do something, but not necessarily try to remove the problem, but just to be understanding about it and give them, you know, some help.
That's a really good point. And I think, too, just maybe even pointing out the fact that when they do get through something like that that's difficult, or they're not enjoying or whatever, there is this huge feeling of satisfaction that comes with it. And that's sometimes the only motivating factor we have to keep going and to get through some things, is to say, hey, when this is all over, I'm going to have this great feeling of satisfaction, and to learn to appreciate that.
That is so true. That is so true. Well, I thought it was really important for our viewers to think about and to walk through what's the difference. Because I know, especially for me, I get attached to doing things a certain way, and then I get bored, and I see this bright, shiny object, and it's like, oh, we ought to go try that. But I have to remember, if it's working for my kids, I need to leave it alone. And that's something that I think a lot of new moms, when we first start homeschooling, it's hard to do. It's hard to say, you know, that's great, like Heidi said, that's great, that's all cool, that may be a fantastic product, but I don't need that product. This is working for my kids. So, you know, let's just leave it alone. So that's hard sometimes.
Let's be honest. Sometimes teaching kids to read is like bang your head against the wall, boring. But you just have to do it.
That's so true. It is so true.
You're not alone if you're bored to death with some of the stuff you're doing.
I made my older kids do that.
Oh, yeah, but Dorinda, I'm all over that. Exactly.
Okay, so I'm going to pop this question here, because I think this is something that is becoming more and more popular, and I don't know how to answer this. And we've got 2 ladies on here that I know answer it very well. Heidi, you and I are going to be the quiet ones this time. How do you homeschool without a curriculum? How do you know what to
Hmm.
teach and when? Okay, Lisa and Dorinda. And Dorinda's even less of a curriculum person than you, Lisa, and that's hard to
What? How
believe.
is that possible?
I know. So
Maybe we need
we'll
to
let
compare notes.
I was gonna say we'll let Dorinda start so you can go, oh, but that's not how I am just like that. So I may have it wrong. So Dorinda, start. Tell us, how do you homeschool without a curriculum?
Okay, well, I don't homeschool 100% without a curriculum because I don't feel secure doing that. So I depend on curriculum for just the basic stuff, math and language. And then always had my kids do handwriting, and my husband was a real, he is super, like, he just lets me do whatever with the kids. I mean, when we first started homeschooling, he was kind of like, well, what about this, what about that? Then he just quit asking those questions and let me do my thing, and was totally supportive. And but one thing he mentioned over the years is he always wanted the kids writing scripture. So I made sure that I included that. That was his request, so I included that for their handwriting. So basically, that was kind of the core stuff that we did, and the book work that we did. And everything else was very much, it seems like it was very much hands-on. I guess they call it delight directed. There's so many words for it, I don't even know them all, but it was just really letting them explore and check out resources, teaching them how to be resourceful when they were interested in something. If I was out at a yard sale and I knew one kid is interested in computers, I'd pick up an old computer that he could take apart and do stuff with. And so, it was just being tuned in to what their interests were at the time, and just sort of, as I saw things, I would just give them to them, or buy them or whatever. And I didn't spend a lot of money. We're talking yard sales and freebies and things like that. But I'd give them stuff that was broken if they were interested in learning how to fix, just stuff like that, where it was just very natural. As a mom, we would just naturally, be tuned into that, and just engage in that by kind of just providing resources for them, but not going crazy with it, just whatever's available at hands, within hands reach or whatever. And then, of course, lots of books. Keep lots of books in the house, and they can explore and, research on all the things they're interested in without me. So
There you go.
that's
Okay,
how we did it.
Lisa, is that similar to you?
It is similar to me, minus the yard sales. I'm not a big yard sale girl. Yes, definitely. We use curriculum for math, and then usually a history unit study curriculum that we just bounce off of all over the place. Is kind of what we do. But they develop their own interests, and we try to provide as much as we possibly can to help them blossom in those areas, whether it's online classes or materials and tools or lessons or friends that are clubs or whatever. And
Yeah,
so,
don't
yeah,
you think it has more of a feeling of a facilitator?
it does. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I have kids.
I'm not
like my
using
older
that
kid-
word, Lisa. You know the
No.
word I want to use.
I
Use
know. Don't say it, Trish.
Just so everybody out there knows, that's very Montessori. Roll your eyes.
Yes,
Go
it
ahead. And roll your eyes.
is. It is
Very Montessori.
very Montessori. And I've been shocked. Kids have these interests that I know nothing about, and yet, and we haven't poured a ton of money into it, and yet they've managed to bloom and grow in these areas. And so we think at first when they're little to get intimidated that we can't afford all these lessons, or we can't do these things, or we don't know anything about it. But you guys, kids are so smart, and they're little sponges, and they figure it out. If you give them whatever you can give them, as limited as it is, it's going to be enough. God will take that and multiply it in their little brains.
Absolutely. And I think that it's feeding that fire of that little spark of learning and love of learning. Just keep throwing kindling on it, and that's how you do it.
Yeah.
Yep. I love that. I love that.
Can I just
So,
say,
Heidi,
too, though, can I just,
Go ahead.
I just wanted to share one more thing. When they get into high school, I'm a little more regimented about the curriculum. I have to admit that. I do make them go through, a history curriculum and some science and some things like that, because I feel like they're really ready for it. Then they've done a lot of exploring a lot, and they're actually pretty excited about it, because, again, they still have that love of learning. So just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, and I think a lot of because we get so serious at the high school age because they're getting ready to go to college if they're going to college, and a lot of states like Tennessee, they're more strict on us at the high school level. So yeah, I can
Mhm.
understand that.
Mhm.
So Heidi, what are we going to do to spark those imaginations? I know you do a lot of unit studies, which I know that's one of Lisa's favorites. So I guess that's how we do it when we're a little bit more curriculum oriented, right?
Yeah, I do. Especially with my little one who loves her cut and paste. We do a lot of unit studies because she gets on tangents. Although my 11-year-old just um, suddenly got sparked into Greek mythology. So we went to the library and pulled all kinds of stuff out, and he's been reading all the Rick Riordan books and so on and so forth. So that's his tangent right now. But yeah, I'm a curriculum girl. I am in general.
Mm.
Like I said, I try, and that's just me. I need to dot I's and cross T's. Although I slowly, you guys would have known me a few years ago. This is tame compared to what it used to be. Poor Lisa's scared over there. She's like, "Oh man, can it get worse than that?" But it's true. I was worse. I was, and so I slowly work my way away from the I dotting and the T crossing. But I also live in New York State where we have a little more regimented regulations too. So you kind of have to be careful what you're doing and be sure that
Right.
you're dotting your I's and crossing your T's for that purpose as well. So that the state you're in sort of depends on that. But yeah, my high schooler is definitely more regimented. But she also we had a long conversation about where she thought she might want to go, and so she's chosen what elective she wants to do. So yeah, she has to do math, she has to do science, she's thinking she wants to go into the medical field. So I'm kind of a stickler about that stuff. But she's chosen what electives, what things she wants to do. We did photography this year. She's taking Latin. She's doing computer programming, which she doesn't love. So we will be discontinuing because that's definitely not her thing. Within the realm of my rigidness, there's still room for exploring the things that she wants to do even in high school. And I'm hoping now that we're going into our sophomore year that we'll get even a little more time for her to get out and maybe volunteer and do some things like we do volunteer at one of the local food shelves here, and she's working at the gymnastics place, which she found her love of coaching. She absolutely loves. So I'm hoping that as she gets a little older and we get a little more time and space, that she'll spend more time out in the world, doing other things and figuring out what it is that she really loves to do.
Lisa just dropped off. She'll try to come back in. Her internet's giving her trouble, and y'all know how we are. We constantly have that. So, okay, so you're down to 3. We had our first time where we had 4, so we had it for almost 20 minutes. Oh well. Okay, so something. And Lisa and I pick on each other all the time about my Montessori. I say Montessori all the time, and I'm the only person on the call that's Montessori, so I have to keep waving my Montessori flag, y'all. But that's exactly what we do. We call it sparking the imagination. But I do it differently. I try to do that as all of my boys have businesses, and I have one son that he loves animals. He loves anything to do with anything that moves, lives, breathes, walks or crawls. And so his business is Deluxe Clucks, and he sells eggs, and we breed chickens. And we just started the other day. They got interested in these paracord bracelets. They're in Civil Air Patrol, and so they started making paracord bracelets, and they sold them over at the 4th of July get together in the park. And now they're actually you can see a couple of them. They're actually selling them through me, but we're going to be putting it on our blog. This is my No Drama Mama band that
Woo!
Heidi gave out at the last conference I went to. I'm living this, y'all. No Drama Mama. So anyway, but that's where I try to, they're interested in photography, so I try to go there. So I do it more on the side instead of inside the curriculum, but that probably would have been just as easy too, right? I could have done it there, but I didn't. I did it a little differently.
Well, having those little businesses, that is just an awesome way to teach so many different things. That's so
Exactly.
cool.
And that's Montessori. It's not, everybody thinks it's intriguing, but I'm really following the book. I'm not creative at all following the book. So it sounds really intriguing, and I love that we're doing it. But that was actually literally, they did it as a farm school, and they had to, in her philosophy, they had to grow their own food, they had to sell it, they had to do the whole 9 yards to feed themselves. So I'm literally, when I say I'm following the book, I literally am following the book. There's just not any creativity. But it is fun. I enjoy seeing, I mean, I don't think that computers were around back then, so I know for sure she wasn't selling it online. So I'm getting a little creative. But hey, Lisa, you're back. Yay!
I'm back.
Your internet's back. Good.
Yeah.
We're wondering if we were going to have 4.
I don't
Okay,
know
so
enough.
I got to talk all about Montessori with you, Balance.
I'm so sorry I missed that.
Did you guys notice all the
Yeah.
hammering and sawing down on my direction? My son is down below me, sawing and I told them I'm out on the court or on the deck, and
It's okay.
please don't bother me. And they're hammering and sawing, and oh well.
That's usually Lisa's world. We usually hear that over
I've
at
got
Lisa's.
no. It's happening here too. There's all these tools going on out there. I don't know what they're doing.
Lisa has Lisa in her workshop, and so sometimes we
Yeah.
hear stuff going on in her workshop. So it's
Yeah.
okay.
That's where I
We're
am.
used to it. We are so used to it. Okay, this is a fun question, and I didn't, so I don't know if y'all did. So it says, did you name your homeschool?
Not
Yeah?
me, not us.
Okay, so what did you name it? Heidi and Lisa both have names. So what'd y'all name it, Heidi? You're muted.
Uh-oh.
She muted
There we go.
herself. She was.
Yes,
Oh,
my phone
okay.
my phone started ringing, so I was like, ah.
Okay.
So we actually, when the kids were younger, my brother used to joke that he was going to send the kids to the Saravola School of Excellence.
There you go.
And so we actually named our school the Saravola School of Excellence, but we have shortened it to the CSE Academy.
There you
Because
go.
the Saravola School of Excellence seems a little too puffy. So
Puffy, I like that word.
I guess technically I didn't name my homeschool, but my brother did, and like I said, it became the CSE Academy is now what we call it. And actually, my teenager who is on Facebook has herself listed, because I created a CSE Academy, has herself listed as attending the CSE Academy.
Awesome.
It's one of those teenagers that sounds better than homeschooling.
Yeah. There you go. What'd you name yours, Lise?
Well, our family's ministry that all of our businesses fall under is called the Anchor Group, and so our school is called Anchor Academy. And we have we give the kids little IDs every year and everything. So
Oh, check you out.
yeah,
Woo.
that's mainly because I love my laminator and I like to play with it.
That was a question in the group. What do you laminate? And one answer was, what don't I laminate?
I laminate everything.
So that's good. We named ours, but we didn't name it that way. We named it because we had an intranet and a communication means for everybody that was here. And we used to have our best friend's son used to homeschool with us, and so it was the Skinner Corlo, so ours is CSA Academy, Corlo Skinner Academy. So ours was not very creative, but we do have a name, but we just don't use it. So ours is more practical. That's the logical side. My husband actually came up with it, and he's a computer guy, so that's that logical, practical side. So anyway, okay, so I find it very interesting. That seems to be a really big trend right now in our group. Everybody's talking about how they're naming their homeschool. That's a big deal, and that's fun. I never even thought about getting really creative with it. I just went with what they had come up with. So I like that. I like hearing what y'all did. Okay. This is a question that I don't know the answer if it's going to apply to us, but I'm going to throw it out there. It says, did you hold a child back for any grades? If so, how do you present this to your child? Did anybody hold a child back?
I did.
Okay.
Well, mainly, especially with the boys, I waited a while to start actually even start school with them, just because, at least with my boys, I knew they weren't ready. So I don't know if that qualifies as holding them back. But I did have a first grader, our last one was a first grader, and he does take some little classes at a homeschool thing, and you have to name the grade. And so that's I mean, other than that, my kids really most of the time didn't really know what grade they were in. So,
Yeah.
which can be a little embarrassing sometimes, but
I think we've all been through that. Yeah.
So anyway, so I did end up holding him back because he was struggling with he has dysgraphia, and so we're having to really work hard on that. And I just knew he wasn't ready, and I knew that it didn't affect him now, but as he got older and into the high school years, and he would maybe do some testing and some things like that, it wouldn't be beneficial for him to be that young when he got there. So I went ahead and held him back. He didn't know the difference. I told him last year he was in second grade, and he was like, okay, he forgot that he was in second grade the year before. So so it really didn't affect him. So yeah.
Okay. Lisa, anybody else?
Nope.
Okay.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like Dorinda said, we don't really do grades. We just go at their pace until they're ready to open the next book. So
That's
it really
right.
wasn't
Yeah.
a thing.
Yeah, and see, that was something I was gonna mention. We get so stuck in this mindset of traditional school and grades and how holding them back or moving them forward. And I really wanted to encourage moms that if you do have a situation where you have where there's something that needs to be repeated or gone over again, you don't need to necessarily, you don't have to say you're holding them back. You can just say, we're going to review this. We're going to review this and focus on mastery. That's that M word I'm not going to use, Lisa. But that mastery component, where you say, let's master this concept before we move on, and then it doesn't feel like it's, it doesn't matter if they're in 6th grade doing addition and subtraction. If they haven't mastered it, they haven't mastered it, and they get that concept without you having to use that negative language. They're being held back a year, or they failed a grade, or whatever language it is. I'm not one that's politically correct, but I also don't feel like you have to burden your children with that kind of thought.
No.
That's why we homeschool, right?
Yeah,
we're homeschooled to be different.
Exactly. And it's going to demotivate them, not motivate them. And so you want to keep that fire burning, and you do that by being encouraging. And who cares what grade they're in? Let's just, like you said, just try to keep moving forward and make sure you have a concept before you move on to the next one. It's not rocket science. It's just sensible.
I agree. Mastery.
We have issues with reporting in New York State because of that, though, because you have to report a grade level, and you have to report having completed at least 80% of what you set out in your plan to cover. And the bottom line is, when it comes to testing in New York State, you have to be above a certain percentile when you test. So, like, you have to take, and we have to test certain years. I won't go into that, but when you do test, you have to score above the 33rd percentile in order to be considered, passing. And we have families that will get into a situation where they haven't done that. Then it becomes a matter of if you can show that they've shown a year of growth, like, if you can show growth and I don't know what they deem to be a year of growth, but if you can show growth, then you can sort of, you can get around that. But I know it gets very tricky, and it's harder, because then you're just kind of drawing flags to yourself if you have to send in paperwork to the district and try and change the grade. So it does get very tricky in a state like ours when you're expected to test, when you have to show a certain amount of growth, when you have to pass to a certain level. Which is one thing why so many in New York State like the PASS test, because it's not actually a grade based, like, the CAT test. It's like, oh, if you're entering a certain grade, you take this one or this one. The PASS test is through 8th grade, but it's kind of like a sliding scale almost. It's like a certain level. It's not really done by grade, and so it's easier with that, especially in the younger grades, to show growth then and show, that they've grown. So yeah, it gets tricky when you get into that.
And see, most of us, Tennessee is a pretty, I mean, it's not, if you look on the scale, like HSLDA or some of these places that, grade states on how loose they are or how strict they are on homeschool, Tennessee is sort of in the middle. So we don't really have that level. I know Texas is really a fantastic state to homeschool in, which is where Lisa is. And Dorinda, you are in
Washington State.
So is it pretty loose there, or do y'all have...
We're supposed to test every year. That's pretty much all we have to do. And we don't even have to turn it into anybody. We just have to test them.
Ah, okay, wow. Yeah, yeah. See, so that makes a big difference, and that's something that we always have to say. We always have to say that caveat is you have to know what your state's requirements are. We can tell you all this great stuff, but know what your state's requirements are because you want to stay legal. And we certainly don't want to get anybody in trouble with their state.
No.
So, yeah, be legal. Know what you have to do for your state. Okay, next question. Oh, this is going to be fun. What is your favorite subject to teach, and how do you teach it? Lisa, I'll start with you. I'm going to start on the other end. What's your favorite subject, and how do you teach it?
Well, probably history is my favorite subject to teach, and the main reason I think it's my favorite is because I never really learned it when I was in school. And so I'm like learning all the time. I'm like, wow, I didn't know that. I will tell you this funny story. One time I was studying the presidents with my kids. This was years ago, maybe like 10 years ago. And I said, okay, y'all, I'm going to tell y'all something. I didn't actually know Thomas Jefferson had been a president. I didn't even know that. And my two older kids looked at each other and they go, public school. That's about me. I really didn't learn it, and I'm enjoying now sort of learning that. And so that's probably my favorite because my kids get jazzed about it, and we all just, we do all this stuff off of it. And of course, my favorite way to teach it is through unit studies. So the one we use the most is Answers in Genesis. It's got everything in it, and it has little coloring books that the younger kids can do alongside with the older kids, and it's very easy for me to do different levels and do it as a whole family.
Okay.
So every Friday we have an art project that goes with that, so they get to explore everything from Legos to drawing to writing to songwriting or whatever to go with the history. So I just really like doing that one, and I'll post a link to that in the group.
That'd be great.
Community.
That'd be great. Okay, sounds good. Heidi, what's your favorite subject?
Definitely not math.
I saw that.
Figured that was coming, right? Definitely not math.
Yep.
What's funny is this year, this is, I guess, off the beaten path a little bit, but this year my favorite was photography, partly because that's just where my some of my side bent is, and my daughter chose that as an elective. So I have to say that was fun for me this year, but obviously that doesn't do much good for, maybe younger kids. With the younger kids, and actually even with my high schooler this year, I have to go with Lisa on history. I was not a big history buff. Still, I'm not a trivia girl, but and I don't know my geography, so don't ask me where anything is unless it's in the United States, and even then, but I am enjoying the geography, and I actually am going to be doing world geography with all of our kids this coming year. My high schooler is going to be using a Bright Ideas Press, and my other two are using something else, and I'm looking forward to that. I'm enjoying the history, the geography, and we've done with our teenager, we've done kind of a more of a unit study approach with her history this year. We went through United States history, but what I loved about it is that we picked like a novel, per time period to read, which I really love. I love historical fiction, so I really like learning history that way. And also we did a lot of videos, and I actually watched Roots for the first time. I've never seen it, never read the book, and it was funny because my daughter was just, oh, do we have to? And I held up the book, and it's like this thick, and I'm like, well, you can read it. I'm like, or we can watch it. And I said, how about this? If your father hates it, if he's not into it, we won't watch it. And I had no idea, honestly, whether he was going to really enjoy it or not. But my husband, but my husband tends to like things I don't, and I wasn't sure if I was going to love it, so I figured I'd go out on a limb and give it a try. Well, my husband and I loved it. And so we watched over a period of like weeks, because it was like, I don't know, 5 or 6 2-hour segments or whatever it was. And so we watched it kind of once a week, and we really enjoyed it. So I have to say that I think, the history, geography kind of thing has been fun for me. And that's one of the subjects that I don't necessarily teach straight curriculum based. So we do more fun things, more exploring, more field trips, because there's so many places to go when it comes to historical stuff. And so we've done a lot more of that. Like last year we went to Washington D.C. It was my daughter's 8th grade Washington trip. Here, I don't know, in our area every school goes 8th grade Washington trip, and so we did our own last year. So I'm going to go with history, geography. Yeah.
Very good. Okay, Dorinda, how about you?
I would probably have to say the language arts, and I mean, really, it comes down to I like writing, and so I don't have trouble, editing my kids' writing and helping them write better. And we've never really used a curriculum for that, but as they're writing summaries and different things, like I'll have them read something, for a certain amount of time, and then they write a summary about what they've read, and just going through that and kind of, teaching them all the grammar and the punctuation and all that in that short little paragraph. It just seems really efficient to me, and it seems to really stick. So that I love. And then just in everyday life, I always correct grammar, and I thought that wouldn't be that was just me and being quirky and stuff. But when our 19-year-old started college at 16 in Running Start, that is one of the things he aced. He hates language arts, but he aced the entrance exam. And I said, how did that happen? I mean, I just couldn't figure that out. And he goes, Mom, we speak good English at home, and you're always correcting us, and that's all I really needed. And
Isn't
so
that great?
I was shocked, and so man, that was one of those proud moments where I went, phew, And
we can pile on the mama guilt. So that was one time when you got to go pat mom on the back. There you go.
That was great. And then the other thing I really love is I love gardening, and I love like learning how to cook things healthier and making like tinctures and stuff from herbs. And so I like sharing that with the kids kind of along the way. And it's amazing how much they absorb just watching you and listening to you talk about it.
Aren't you sometimes amazed what they don't absorb? You're like, how do you not know this?
Oh, it's so true. We had that happen the other day. I went through this whole thing with one of our kids, and I actually made a little video post about it, because I've started doing like little short video encouragement things on my blog. And this was I told this story, but I won't tell the whole story. But bottom line, there was a discipline issue with one of my teens, and it kind of told the process of what went on there. And then at the end, he came to me and he said, Mom, the Bible says we're supposed to honor and obey our parents, and when I'm doing these things that you've asked me to do, that's honoring and obeying you. And I thought to myself, how many times have I said that? Like hundreds and hundreds.
A light bulb moment for him.
I know.
Exactly. And I was like, oh, how many other things are like that,
Or when someone else tells them and they're like, Mom, did you know? Yeah, I did.
Yeah, exactly. Don't you remember me saying this?
I know. Oh, that's too funny. Well, I think my favorite, and we were just talking about this, I think my favorite is real world stuff, teaching them about how to do things outside of school. And I hate to say that because I love homeschooling, but I also love teaching them about photography and helping them. One thing that I used to own a business that I placed people into corporate America. I was a headhunter. And I actually felt really guilty about that for the last 5 years or so, because I felt like I know how going out to work can be, when you're not working for yourself and when you're working for somebody else, how restrictive that can be for your family. It is so much freer when you work for yourself and gives you so much more time to be on your own and do the things the way you want to do, and you get to set your own priorities. And so I even have a post on my blog called Rat Race Rebellion. So I'm really anti corporate America, and so I felt really guilty. And so I really want my kids to know the blessing of having your own schedule and your own agenda and not getting caught in the rat race and not getting caught in all that. So I have to say that that's probably my favorite. So it's a really bizarre place to be, but that's my favorite thing to teach about.
Well,
And we study the Bible a lot. So that's the other favorite.
right.
What were you going to say, Dorinda?
Oh, just all of that is homeschooling. I mean, we always tend to think that it's just math and all those core things, but it's
Yeah.
life, you know. We want to teach our kids to live life. And I was just thinking the other day, I've thought of this several times over the years. If I never used curriculum, which, you know, obviously I do use it, but if I never used curriculum or we never used curriculum and we just taught our kids what we know, just I think about how skilled they could be and how much they would know just us sharing what we know.
We have found that.
Go ahead. That's what I was going to say. That's exactly, I think, what we all need to do. Go ahead.
We have found, I've been surprised by some of the things that my daughter's friends don't know or don't know how to do. Simple things like painting a wall, using, you know, I grew up, my dad was kind of a jack of all trades, master of none, and so he maintained everything in the house. I mean, very rarely did we call a repairman for anything. You know, he did. My parents wallpapered, you know, I mean, they would have somebody do the carpeting, but I mean, they wallpapered, they painted, they, you know, cut, saw, hammer, you name it. And, you know, and so I grew up that way. And when I met my husband, he could barely swing a hammer. He was, you know, and so, and we completely renovated our first house side by side with my parents. And honestly, even as an adult, you know, I was 20, 21. I was, you know, I still learned a lot during that time period, even though I had grown up with my, you know, my father and been in that house, and, you know, my husband learned a ton. And those are things that we, you know, are working on passing on to our kids, you know. And so, you know, my daughter's actually embarking on painting her room again. She wanted to redo it. And I was like, well, I helped you do it once. I'm done. So, and you know, and when she was painting circles on her wall. She loved ladybugs, so she has red walls with black polka dots. And it was amazing to me how her friend could not even paint inside a decent circle. So we had like these weird shaped circles because her friend was helping her do it at the time. And you know, and so at that point, my daughter. But, you know, but it's just it was at that point that my daughter could appreciate what she had learned, like without even really something, you know, what she had learned to do and what she was capable of doing without even necessarily knowing it, because we have the kids do it with us, you know. It just becomes, you know, so you're right, teaching what you know is just so valuable. Not even just what you're teaching in books, but what you do every day, what you know. How many kids leave the house and can't do the laundry, you know? You know, and that's something, you know, seem right, not mine. I mean, you know, seemingly simple, but you know, kids leave the house and don't know how to do those things, don't know how to maintain anything, and you know, and how to do some things for themselves. So I think that is a huge learning process and a huge part of what we do in our house.
Well, and I think too, when the kids learn to do those things down the road, that saves them tons of money. You know, they say a penny saved is a penny earned. So if you know how to paint your own walls and you know how to fix things, man, you can live on a tighter budget because, you know these things. We were talking to a young dad the other day at church, and he's got 5 little kids, and their air conditioner broke, and it was like 90 degrees in the house. And so he was called the repair guy to come out the next day, but he came home from work the night before and thought, you know, I'm just going to YouTube this. So he got on YouTube, managed to figure out what was wrong with it, got the part, replaced it, cost him $30, and he would have spent $400 to $500 getting it fixed.
Well, it's great that you say that, because that was going to be my point. My husband, you know, we've suddenly become the washer repair people, the stove repair people. My husband has done the exact same thing. Like, he's like, okay, you know, we had problems with our washer twice. We flipped it upside down, pulled it apart, figured, well, it's not working. What's the worst that can happen? And with the internet being, you know, it's not working, so what's the worst that can happen? And with the internet as such a huge resource, I mean, so many manuals and fix it, and like you said, YouTube videos and are out there that, I mean, it's insane the things we have been able to do and fix and saved ourselves the money. My husband just did it. We had our string trimmer broke, and someone was borrowing it, and they broke it and, you know, gave it back to us. And my husband was, you know, oh my gosh, you know, $160, whatever we're going to go spend. And he started looking looking at it and doing a little research, and for $12 he bought the part and fixed it. And so it just, those things, yeah, they play in so much, you know, even just your own teaching your kids to be confident and comfortable to go out there and try and find the information, and to give it a shot first before, you know, calling in for, you know, for somebody else. So even just those skills of research and asking the questions and figuring it out, as my father would call it, you know, problem solving. You know, my dad was, you know, his German ingenuity, as he called it, but it was really just his process of problem solving and kind of going through a process. And that plays in so much, you know, with academics, with not academics, and in real life, just learning to step through that process of problem solving something.
Yeah, and don't you think a lot of it has to do with, you know, what I like to do with our kids is, especially the older they get, but even when they're younger, just to ask them questions. You talked about problem solving in just about any situation. It could be problem solving in a relationship, problem solving in, you know, schoolwork. It could be, you know, stuff around the house, all those kinds of things. You ask them questions and say, well, what do you think about that? And what do you, you know, how do you think you could fix that? Or, you know, what would you do in this situation? And give them the chance to process that and to learn how to ask themselves those questions by being the one to initiate that.
Yep. I love that. Okay, I'm gonna move on. We've got two more questions that are not mine, that somebody has popped in and asked. So I want to pop these in real quick, and we only have 9 minutes left. So one of them is from one of our loyal watchers. She asked, how do you deal with power struggles with a 5-year-old daughter, the disobedience, and the constant lying and fit throwing? So y'all be gentle, but answer. We need to, you know, I mean, this is part of it, and this is her first year homeschooling, and so this may be a transitional thing. This child may be going through a transition stage, or it could be, you know, she's just 5 and she's, you know, testing her waters and seeing how far she can push those boundaries. So some of you mamas that have kids that are now grown. Dorinda, you got grandbabies, so tell us, you know, are you starting to see any of this happen where you get to come back and watch your kids deal with the same thing you had to deal with?
Well, the two grandbabies, we lost a grandbaby in the fall, and so we haven't really gotten to experience the actual grandchild there, and the other two are due at the end of the year, so we haven't had that chance yet. I'm looking forward to it, though.
Well, how would y'all deal with this then? What do y'all recommend for this mom?
You know, I don't know. I think that finding her currency would be the number one thing.
Explain that concept.
Well, the concept is find out what's important to her, and that can be a number of things. And we babysit a 14-month-old every couple times a week, and she started doing this thing where she would throw fits, and her mom would talk to me about it, and we would agree on how we were going to handle it. But she found that with her, she was very social, and so when we removed her from everybody else, you know, just kind of put her in a playpen by herself for a few minutes or whatever, it was like night and day difference. When she acted that way, she couldn't be around people. And that got taken away from her, and she realized she's kind of putting 2 and 2 together. Oh, it was so effective, you know. So that was that's one idea. I have a kid who loves sugar. I mean, the kid loves sugar, and we're real careful about sugar at our house. But so they might get one little thing every day of a sweet sugary thing. But I will take that away from him if. You know, I'll just say, you know what, no sweets for a couple of days, and it's certainly not going to hurt him. It's probably going to be better for him. Plus, in the end, he feels that, you know, that makes a difference to him. So it's finding the things that like I said, finding the things that are important to them and just saying, hey, if you do this, if you don't,
and it's a choice they're making. That's something
exactly,
I think
and point that out. Yes, you're making
you
a choice.
are making this choice. Yeah.
Exactly, because life is full of choices, and all you're doing is teaching her that life is full of choices, and your choices affect you, and they affect the people around you. And so, you know, when you want to encourage them to make good choices, and the same thing holds true. You can turn around and use that currency as a reward for doing the right thing, and, you know, take it from a positive perspective and just say, hey, I know you love this, so if you will just finish this job or whatever, then you can you can do this or have this or whatever.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Lise?
That's great. That's exactly what I would say for finding a consequence. But what I would add to that is you have to be consistent in enforcing those consequences. My
Yes.
message on my blog is consistency, and
Mhm.
it doesn't matter what necessarily what your form of discipline is if you are consistent with it. Don't let yourself be moved and motivated and affected by her having a fit or getting angry or whatever she's doing. You hold firm and you hold fast, and just for me the trick is to keep my eye on the prize, which is godliness and good character and getting their work done and the things they will learn from that. And so that's how I can be unaffected by their mood and whatever their reactions are. So, and then I'm on it. Make yourself be on it. And
Mm-hmm.
it's exhausting, but
Mm-hmm.
if they know that the second they don't do what you tell them, something will happen, and then you will pull them right back to doing it, and then something will happen, and then you will pull them right back to doing it until they do it. They will
Right.
begin to learn that, and they will stop having their fits. If it doesn't work and it never works, they'll stop doing it. It's
That's
not
right.
easy, but they will stop, and
In
Mm-hmm.
some
it's really hard, but you can do it.
And sometimes it requires us to drop everything else for a while
A
and
lot of
just, have no agenda except to help that child learn what's right and wrong and to make better choices. And really, you're doing this out of love for your child because you want what's best for
exactly.
them. And it's not best for them to be throwing fits and manipulating and doing all those other things. So,
And I think that's
Yeah.
hard for some moms to remember is that you're doing it out of love, you're doing it for their benefit. Because sometimes it feels like, and if we're honest here, sometimes it feels like it's just disobedience and we're trying to make them mind. And it's really not that. It's
Yeah.
disobedience is disobedience. And if they're going to do it with you, they're going to continue to do it later in life and they're going to become a rebel. And that's the
right.
last thing you
Exactly.
want is all that rebellion. And one of my
Mm-hmm.
favorite lines at our house is, consequences of decisions made. If you make that decision, you're going to get the natural consequence. And
Mm-hmm.
and so even in the Bible, we see King David. He was a man after God's own heart, but he still had consequences. He still had to live the consequences out. You lost,
Right. And
his child.
exactly. And the other thing is to, a lot of times, if you can find consequences that fit the crime,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of an
Organic.
example.
I love an
Like
organic.
exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Which
like if you take
yeah.
something from somebody, they have to replace it and then maybe give a little more, or they have to pay for it, or something along those lines. Who's giggling?
Lisa has this great thing going on. I hope is it still going on at your house?
Oh,
Do we
my
still have
Lord.
10 beds being made?
Yes. No, he's down to just 3.
I heard about this at the conference. Is this still
Yes.
really going on?
Oh, girl, that's been going on for like a year. Okay. But what I want to say practically to this mom that asked this question before we run out of time, so you both hit on it, so I just want to give it a practical. So when the daughter doesn't do something that she's told to do and has a fit or whatever her reaction is, don't let her convince you that she doesn't need to do it. Even if what she says makes you go, well, yeah, you still have to make her do it. Just next time, then don't tell her to do it. But this time, still make her do it, even if it doesn't seem important or she hates it or whatever. And
Right.
so you can change your mind for the future, but for now, you can't let them convince you to change your mind because that teaches them that they have a power that they should not have.
A manipulation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, last question, y'all. And I really want to get it in there because it's another one of our loyal watchers. She says, I will have one child working through the county with stricter testing and report of hours, and one working under an umbrella as an unschooler. She said, have you ever had experience with kids in these two different worlds? How do you deal with that? I haven't. Have any of y'all?
Nope.
No.
Okay, Heather, we're not going to be able to answer that one. We're going to have to ask that in the group. So you're part of the community, I believe. I'm almost positive you are. I know you are. So you're in the community. And we are literally out of time, guys. So I want to one more time remind y'all about the community. We have our Facebook page, which is Hip Homeschool Moms, but we also have a community where there's 3,000 plus moms that gather that really they're doing exactly what we're doing here, except they're doing it online. It's mentoring moms. It's moms helping moms live the homeschool lifestyle. And it's Hip Homeschool Moms Community. And if you search for it, it's a closed group. And so anything you say in there is not going on your wall and all your friends don't see it. But if they're a member, obviously they can see it. But come join us. So one last time, we have Dorinda. And Dorinda, I'm gonna hit on you as I go through you so they can see you. This is Dorinda Wilson, and she is Simple Nourishing Home. Go by and visit her. She has a Facebook page and obviously a blog. Heidi Saravola, and I didn't say right, Saravola, there, starts at 8, and Heidi's been with us almost since the beginning, so go by and visit Heidi. She's pretty active in the group. Dorinda's getting more active in the group and just started getting really involved, so you'll see both of them over there. Lisa's just stuck up. We don't know what to do with her. I'm telling you what. No. I love her. She's busy. This is Lisa Pennington from the Pennington Point, and she has a fantastic blog. She doesn't write a whole lot about homeschool, but her blog actually is more fun. I've joked about hijacking her and stealing her and bringing her here. Heidi talked about having a dad that knows how to do everything. I think they know how to do everything too. They really, yeah. She needs to come paint my house. Okay, and I'm Trish. I'm with Hip Homeschool Moms, and we have our own blog, hiphomeschoolmoms.com, and then my blog, my personal blog, is Live and Learn. And Live and Learn Farm. I better put that in there. Nobody will know that. So anyway, thanks, guys. We appreciate y'all being here. We love doing this. Be sure to go welcome Dorinda in the group and tell her you're glad to see her, and be back here same time, same place next week.
Bye.
And hopefully we'll all be here. And we'll see you soon. Have a great week, y'all. Bye-bye.
Bye.